forgot I was MC today. Okay, yeah. Hello, welcome to Good Medicine Way.
Should I hand her the microphone?
No, not that microphone.
Okay.
These ones, she's
These
fine.
ones are good? Okay. Yeah, we are here live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in person. It feels weird. So yeah, I can get us started. Can be in a posture of prayer. Whew. Dear Creator, thank you for all that you have done and that you are doing on this day, on this earth, at this moment in time. I just pray that you bless us this evening as we gather together to know more about who you are, as well as to know more about who you made and all the people that are here right now. So yes, I just pray that you bless this land that we're on, which is the Sandia Pueblo and part of the Isleta Pueblo, who have gone through a lot of hardships. And so thinking of how many people were here in the Sandia Pueblo are now like over 31,000 in their population. I think they're the smallest pueblo in the southwest area. So we just pray for them and lift them up to you, Lord. We know that they profess to know who you are, and I just pray they know the truth of who you are to be. And yeah, thank you for continuing to take care of the land, despite all of these things that are happening right now. And yes, thank you for from the east to the west, to the south to the north. Thank you, Creator. Creator sets free in the Holy Spirit. Amen. And we go to Preston.
So, this is the first time I have done, or I don't remember doing Creator's insights but I kind of started with being able to understand creative insights being with my dog with my first talk a couple weeks ago. But understanding is like, I would tell you guys that I could see stuff that he was a puppy and everything. So when I first had him, I had pictures of him. He's now a fully gray and with a couple of black spots and a couple of brown and parts of his nose. The brown parts were developed later in life, but he was all white, and with the black spots he still currently has. So it's very interesting to see that and see him develop through his life, where one day I literally woke up and he was like, "Hello, Papa," and I was like, oh my gosh, you're gray. What happened to my little cow? I would call him a little cow because he would look all white and with black spots. But then after that, he just disappeared, and now he just. But when I give him a nice good bath, like half of his hair is still white, and it's just like, and some of his manners are still as puppy. He just looks like gives me his puppy's eyes, even after a year and a couple of months. And that's what I was telling people, is like, that's how Creator sees us. It's like, yep, I remember when you first did that. I remember when I first saw you run across the field and look at me with those glistening eyes. I remember when you first saw me so excited with something that you first fell in love with, and you still have those glistening eyes, and you finally were able to go, I did it! I finally figured out that piece that part of my piece, my solo that I'm working on. Yeah. As you remember, I did not see those things in myself when I was playing trombone solos, but I want everyone else to, I want everyone to have those moments to be able to say, God sees that in you too. God sees you for your first time being excited, and that continues to today. And you are excited for your accomplishments. Thank you.
Cool. Good. We went to This Week in Turtle Island, which I have today. Please excuse my allergy voice. It's pretty bad out here for me. So on May 20th, which was this past Friday in 1972, Nixon signed an executive order returning Mount Adams, which is in the Yakima Nation, which is in the Washington state. They were returned Mount Adams and the summit in the East Slope. So, and the government. It says here too that the government had already promised them that, but they didn't actually give them the Mount Adams. But it wasn't until 1972 that the government was already, or okay, it's the Yakima Nations. And that's this week.
Right, huh?
Alright, so we're doing a song.
Let's do some songs.
Do we have the old rebels?
Is that what you
Yeah.
had? Which one do you like?
Well, okay, yeah, I'll take this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
going to Leah.
All right, well, we got the announcements. An offering now to start with the offering. And if anyone, as I'm doing the offering announcement, if anyone on Zoom or YouTube has an announcement, be sure to stick it in there now, and then by the time I'm done talking about offering, we'll be able to read it. But if you have an announcement, and so the offering, how you can give offering if you're not in person, is you can go to the top of the Good Medicine Way Facebook group, and there's a little PayPal place right there for you to donate on. And if you have offering in person, you can give it here. And as far as announcements go, we are starting with the Women's Circle every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, and that this is also through the Facebook Good Medicine Way Facebook group. At 7 p.m., the women are starting to go through the book of Hebrews in the First Nations version. So all the women are invited to that. We're kind of praying our way through it. And did anything come through on YouTube or the Zoom chat? And also, if you think of anything you want to announce, in 5 minutes or whatever, you can, still put it in the chat, and we'll try to collect them a little bit later on.
It's good to see
Oh.
everyone together.
Good to see your name, Leah Nicene McCoo. Good to know you're there. All right. Very good.
All right.
I think that's it for tonight.
And we go to Kristen.
Today we're in Matthew 18, 15 through 20. Handling conflict. If a tribal family member wrongs you, go to him alone and tell him. If he listens, then you have won him back. If he cannot see the wrong, then go to him with one or two others who have seen the wrong, so he can hear them. If he still will not listen, take him before the sacred family council. If he will not hear the council, then he will be the same to you as an outsider or tribal tax collector. I speak from my heart. What has been decided from the spirit world above is what you will decide on earth. From my heart, I will say it again as this way. When two or three have gathered together on earth to represent me, I will be there in spirit to guide you. Then, under my guidance, whatever two or more of you agree upon and ask for will be done by my Father above. This is the word of the Lord.
Thank you, Creator. All right, before I introduce tonight's speaker, I had a kind of epiphany as Preston was reading that, because, it says, okay, tell the person who's wronged you about it. If they don't listen, bring two others. If they don't listen, bring them before the tribal group. And if they still don't receive, what are you supposed to do? Well, treat them like an outsider or a tax collector. But who's writing those words? Matthew, who used to be a tax collector. So I'm like, I wonder if he's got a little sparkle in his eye as he's saying that. Well, treat them like Jesus treated me. Okay, you're an outsider, but hopefully we will woo you back somehow. So that's kind of interesting to ponder. Maybe, I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts branching off of that, but if so, post them and we can chew on them more later. But now, I'd like to introduce our speaker for tonight from the Four Corners area, the Navajo Nation, is Elmer Yazzie, who is a fantastic artist, and he might have some new pieces tonight to show us, but
And a new name.
Pardon?
And a new name.
Oh, and a new name, besides Elmer Yazzie. All right, well, Elmer Yazzie, and your other name you can tell us about if you feel like it. Take it away.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay? Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay. Can everyone else hear me all right?
Yep, you're loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
Okay, good. I'm in Farmington. I live about 22 miles south of Farmington on our, my mother's side of the family is, they have this, one of their sections of land is a ranching area. And I've been helping my aunt with cattle work since last June. I retired from teaching. I started teaching in 1976. So I taught art, taught painting, drawing, pottery at the, for about 18 years. I taught first grade up through 12th grade. And then I just focused more on middle school and high school. Then I also taught college classes and adult classes, workshops, a lot of different types of workshops. And I've had lots of opportunity to travel to expand my experience. So been to, oh my goodness, been to Israel, been to Germany and the Netherlands, been to China and Belize, did a mural in Belize and did some workshops down there for 1 week, then spent a week vacationing with family. So I had no idea that all this was going to start opening up my world when I was in high school, when I was in college. I didn't have any idea that this was going to happen to me and just these different things, but when we're always ready to serve in whatever way we're available, all kinds of things happen. So, and then of course throughout the United States, and most of the time I end up in the province of Alberta. I've been to British Columbia and where's Toronto? What province is that? Been over there. So feel free to ask a question as I get going here, and feel free to, okay, thank you, Ontario. Feel free to just, if you're curious about something, I'll see it on the screen. So I just saw that about Ontario. It's an honor to be here with you. I appreciate Leah. I appreciate the type of way to worship our Creator God. And I really appreciate something that my mother and father, late in their years, both identified, and that being some of the traditional way, some of the the culture that we came out of, that I grew up out of, is very beautiful. There's a lot of wonderful teachings in all of our indigenous peoples, and both of my parents talked to me in their late years of life and said they wish they had held on to more of their own culture, more of their own way of life that they initially grew up with. Both of them used the word brainwashed, that they were brainwashed into thinking that Christianity was something that where you go and deny all of who your past was, what your past was, and then you realign yourself to what's new. And they both spoke in favor of, worship and prayer in a way that where both all of you are doing. And I don't know, I know you've told me the story before, Leah, but I don't know I can't think of the story right offhand as to how the organization got started. I grew up on the Navajo reservation in Shiprock, New Mexico, and I attended public school up through 5th grade, and then I attended boarding school from 6th grade on through high school graduation in 72. Then I went on. I went to college up in Michigan, Grand Rapids, Michigan, what's now known as Calvin University. I was there from 72 to 76. Then graduated with an art education degree, and began teaching in August of 76. I ended up teaching at Rehoboth, the boarding school that I attended for 30 years. I also taught up in just west of Bozeman, Montana, near Manhattan, Montana, for a couple of years. And I was down in Tucson for 12 years. No, 11 years. And then I was on the reservation at a public high school 1 year. So total altogether, I think that's 44. I loved coaching, coached track and field and cross country since 1984. And that's what I was doing. So, and then I started doing artwork. I've always been doing artwork, but the first huge project that I ended up doing was in June of 79. I started a 4,000 square foot mural in a church in Red Mesa, Arizona, an area that's called Teshita, and it's west of Shiprock, New Mexico, about 45 miles, and then just south of the Utah state line. So it's on the reservation, but that took 21 months to work on, and I did that during the summers. Then I did another mural in Farmington, New Mexico that was 2,000 square feet. And then that took 18 months. And then I did another mural in Gallup, New Mexico. All these three followed each other. And that one was the smallest one. It was 1,600 square feet. So those projects just showed me they convicted me that I loved doing artwork, and that I was involved in teaching, but I began to explore a little bit about what is it. I've always been interested in knowing more about what our Creator has wanted for me. I was asking questions and wondering, and in my prayers, seeking throughout the late 70s, and then moving into art education, and then even when I was teaching, just ways to reach the students that I was working with. So I just have had this spirit inside me wanting me to see what's over the next hill in regards to the career choices that I was making, that I was led to do. I didn't really make them, I guess. I was actually just led to do them, and then I followed through. That's the way I look at it. So the murals opened up doors, and invitations began to come. When I was in Flagstaff studying at Northern Arizona for my master's in the late 80s, I met people that opened doors to being able to go to Israel and spend close to 4 weeks there. And then that opened doors to go to Germany, to Reichelsheim, Germany in 1995. And that built relationships with people who live in Austria and Switzerland and in Germany. When I was in France 6 years ago, I was showing in Paris on the southeast side of the city. I remember that. And I was there for 3 weeks. I had opportunity to see people in Germany, and I was going to go to Switzerland again to visit some of the friends there, but lost what my passport was stolen. So I was delayed by quite a while, and I didn't ever make that trip over there. But regardless, I'm sitting here and I had terrible grades in high school. I look at my report cards from high school, and I think about the times I went to the library when I was a freshman in college. I think I went once or twice. I could count them on one hand. And I just wasn't a real traditional student. I loved learning, but the technique to learn was something that if it had art connected to it, I'd probably enjoy it more. So there was a certain way that I needed to learn, and I ended up learning by actually traveling in different places around the world and meeting people from around the world. So tonight, I've been around people, those 44 years of teaching, you're continuously around people. Since last June, the only people that I'm around is my aunt, who's 85, one person. And then if we have people visit the ranch, it's once in a while. My cousin and his mother come by. Some other relatives may show up here and there. And Thanksgiving and Christmas, I got to see a lot of people. But most of the time, it's just me and my aunt and 5 dogs, 5 horses, 31 cows. That's my life. I talk to all those animals. I'm training a Mustang right now that was caught. My cousin and I caught him, and he's just as wild as can be, But I love working with him because I learned years ago that horses do not lie, and working with horses brings out the best in who you are as an individual. So if anybody's struggling to get to know their strengths and weaknesses, I think they just need to work with a horse that's not trained, that's not rideable. And then you have to build a relationship with that animal. That'll teach them a lot about themselves. So that's where I'm at right now. It's a completely different type of life. I started to, our topic is spiritual frequency. I started to realize, even at a deeper level, how what we do here and what we do every day and every night has an impact on what's happening in other places within our family, within our friends, but also throughout the world. What we're doing tonight is we're celebrating, we're in fellowship, and we're strengthening our time together. And that in turn is actually affecting people in different places around the world. I did a drawing called Spiritual Frequency. It's a sketch, and I'm working on it now as one of the paintings that I'm doing of this is on beaver hide that was gifted to me 2 years ago, and it's stretched, and it's on a willow frame, so it's a circular frame, and it's all stretched out on there. So I've been working on that. I'm also doing a canvas of this, and I'm doing a watercolor of this design. It's called Spiritual Frequency. What I wrote is, our fruit affects all others and their fruit. Our fruit is rooted in our ancestors. Their spiritual DNA has an influence on how we choose to live. This activity goes on all the time, day and night, 24/7. Yes, we are one speck in the universes, but we have an effect on the big circle. So what I do each day is valuable and important. We are one body with many parts. And then I signed it, E for Elmer, and then Charlie Rooster Yazzie. February 1 was when I sketched this, 2022. Then I added more notes to it. It is my spiritual choice to stay in balance to the best of my spiritual maturity each day. I am blessed to live. What does God want me to do today? As I live on this ranch, I believe I am in sabbatical. Soon I will go into battle again. And I wrote, sabbatical is rest between the battles. So this is a drawing of in the middle. It's going to be maybe kind of tough to see. I'll try to hold it still. In the middle, you'll see a corn stalk with fruitful corn, all mature corn. And then the roots of the corn, you can see people coming out of the roots. And those are those ancestors. On each side of the circle of the corn plant, there are people united, dark skin, medium skin, light skin. Okay. And then on top, you have day and night, 24/7. You got the sun and the moon, got the sun with clouds and the moon with stars. And then you have this pathway coming down in the middle. East is a very significant direction. That's where everything starts. And when I was in Israel, I was really impressed with what I learned about the East. The main gate to the city of Jerusalem faces east. Ezekiel chapter 41 says, and I saw the glory of God coming from the east. And then there's other references to the east. I learned that Jesus Christ ascended on the east side of the Mount of Olives. I sat in a Bedouin camp with Bedouin people in their tents, and they served a bread a lot like the Navajos like to eat. It's called naniscata. Our bread is called naniscata. It's like a tortilla. It's the closest thing to it. They serve bread with tea that they made from certain plants. In the Southwest, there's a plant called, most people call it Indian tea. Folks around here, if you're Navajo, they call it Navajo tea. Grows wild, and I just shipped a bunch of it to my younger brother in San Francisco. And so I sat there and I noticed that their sheep corral, the main entrance to their corral faced east. And the main entrance to their tent structure was facing east. Right now I'm facing east, and the evening light is coming in through the window at my nephew's house. So that's what I drew, and those are the paintings that I'm working on. And I don't have those paintings with me, but I really think what I just read, I really see that going on. So everything that I do and everything that we're all doing together has an impact on each other. This past January, I was sleeping outside. I bought a school bus, and I'm turning the school bus into a little, home. And I was sleeping out there. It was late January, and during the night, I hear this noise, on the underneath side of the bus, and it woke me up. And then I listened again, and then there was scraping on the bus sides with sounded like a piece of stick, some sort. And then I heard footsteps, and it sounded like whoever was walking was wearing dried bushes, and it was crunchy. And I woke up and I looked at the clock and it said 2:24. And then I thought, okay, I know what this is. We call them Yenagloshis. These are skinwalkers. These are people involved in a form of witchcraft, a form of the principalities of darkness. And so I thought, well, what is it here for? Why is it targeting me? And what should I do? I was asking our Creator, what should I do? Of course, it was uncomfortable. It was kind of scary. But I got up and I raised my voice and I asked the question, what are you doing here? Who do you think you are? You come to me in darkness and you come to me in secrecy. I come to you within the name of our Creator God. And I went into the descriptions of who God is to me, for me. And I heard it run away. It ran off into the darkness. And then I kept going. I didn't stop talking. Then about 40 minutes later, it came back. I could hear it digging outside, digging a hole. Sounded like they were trying to dig a hole. Sometimes what they do is they'll dig a hole and they'll bury different types of paraphernalia that's connected to their own spiritual training. And they want something bad to happen to you. So they'll even take things from your home, from your area. Right now was missing a sock, one side to my socks. And I was missing that one side of a pair of socks for about a month. And then I got the sock back. Then now I'm missing a bracelet that I always wear. It's a silver and turquoise bracelet. I've always worn that here. That's gone. So they're able to get in even though the doors are locked when I'm not around. I was thinking about what they're doing. Why are they doing this? And what's going on in my life? They didn't just stop there. Then this creature did some vandalism, broke some taillight lens, messed with the engine, broke number 7 spark plug in one of my pickups, and disconnected the ignition coil. Just stuff like that, mischievous things. Spray painted the fan blade from underneath the pickup. They laid down underneath and sprayed the fan blade a certain color. And when I started it up, the vehicle ran really rough and it threw that spray paint out on the rest of the engine block. Things like that went on. And that went on throughout February and March and April. And it's been a little over 2 weeks that things have stopped. During that time, they were down by the horse corral, which is about 300 yards from the house, and they were shooting off a gun, I was hearing this gun shooting off, and about 11 o'clock at night, And I know that that's one of the things that they do to try to gain more power, always continuing to try to instill fear in you. And I started to realize some things going on in my life, and I started to put together a puzzle. So I would go out during the day and look for tracks. I looked for signs of their presence, and I found where they parked. They drive fairly close to the house, within just on the outside edge of a mile away, and then they walk in. And I told my older brother, and he came out, and we both walked around down there by where they park. And so what we were doing was looking for tracks, and sure enough, we saw these human tracks. And the very next step, they turned into dog track. Not a four-legged dog, but a two-legged dog walking on its hind legs. So we know that they have power, and we know that they want to scare you, but why are they targeting me? Throughout this time, I started to talk to my children, and my son lives south of me by about 70 miles. He lives on the reservation. He works delivering propane to the people that need propane, and he services the propane tanks and so forth. So he ended up talking to a lot of people, and he was the first one that said to me, "Dad, did you know that Highway 371 running from Farmington to Crown Point, New Mexico, runs north and south, is known as Skinwalker Alley?" And I thought, no, I didn't know that. And then I started to hear it from other people who were just talking. We weren't necessarily talking about skinwalkers. They were just talking about that road, that highway is known as Skinwalker Alley. Now, from my experience and from a lot of your experiences in your spiritual maturity, you're going to start to analyze what's happening. And you're thinking, okay, why are there so many skinwalkers? Why is there so much skinwalker activity on this highway? And I know that the principalities of darkness that we read about in Ephesians 6, those principalities of darkness, they will root themselves into places that they're allowed to be. If there's no opposition, they're going to settle into that area, that geographical area. And I drew the conclusion, I went to some churches along that road as a visitor, and these people, these churches, these places of worship that Navajo people are gathering at, that aren't that far off of Highway 371, they don't talk about it. They never teach about the principalities of darkness. They never teach about spiritual frequency. And so I was thinking, hey, that's why there's a lot of fear. If these skinwalkers can instill fear, you and I know that fear seizes us. When we become afraid, we freeze up. We freeze up throughout our whole being. Spiritually, we freeze. Psychologically, we freeze. Emotionally, physically, we freeze. And once we freeze, we stop thinking logically. We stop doing the things that we know what we need to do. And so we become afraid, and we seize up, and then that's it. So now we get back. I go back to what those dog tracks were about. The human track turning into dog print right in the depth of the sand, and all the things that happened, the things that happened to the horses. There was one horse that was injured pretty bad. I had to medicate him and give him some penicillin and just watch him. Why would they attack the horse? because they know that that horse is special to me. So whatever they were doing, they were trying to find ways to get at my mind, my soul, and my whole being in other areas. And it was so important for me to stay rooted in what I knew, what I had learned in my life. This was not my first go around with these types of principalities of darkness. And I studied the story of Job. I've done that before, but I revisited it. I studied the story I read about Jesus, in the wilderness when he was tempted by the devil. And what I was reminded of in Job's story was that there's the limit. There's a limit to what those principalities of darkness are going to do. There's a limit to the experience that God allows. So I was talking to the creator about this and just asking questions like, okay, so how far are you going to let these creatures go? What is it that you're training me for? What is it that I need to learn or be reminded of? And how do you want me to, how far do you want me to go in response to what's happening at night? Our closest neighbor is 3 miles away. We have electricity, but we don't have running water. And so we haul water in. So that's a huge part of my daily chores is I haul water for the house, and then I haul water for the livestock. And this area is on 2,300 acres. So there's this space, and there are these animals, and there's this house there, and there's no outdoor light, no street light. So when the sun goes down, there's pretty much total darkness unless the moon is shining. So anything that's going to move around at night in darkness, it's easier for them to do so. I did buy some motion sensor lights, and usually they stay on for about 60 seconds. I tested them out. You know what? I was sitting on the front porch. Like about a month and a half ago, and the motion sensor light came on, was on the back side of the horse trailer, and it only lasted like 2 seconds. It was on and it went off. So that goes along with the power that they have, that they can do that. They could turn off that light. They didn't break the light. They just made it turn off. They can also make dogs quit barking. They can change from human steps to animal track, most of the time dog track, if not all the time. And so they can instill fear. Now, way back in the 60s and 70s, when we were kids, when I was a kid in middle school in the mid 60s, there were stories about them back then and how fast they could run. And there were stories about on Highway 371 where people are driving at night and a skinwalker will run up alongside them, and the vehicle's going 60, 65 miles an hour, and they see the skinwalker running alongside them. And then it goes off into the darkness. I'm not going to talk tonight about what I believe is the reason behind this, because I'm not going to talk about it because I believe it's premature. But I do believe I know pretty close to the full truth. I don't know who's doing this, but I know who is hiring this to happen to me. And that's interesting because that's often the case. Someone targets you and they have their reasons why they target you. And then what they do is hire somebody who's involved in this type of work. And then they come out and do this. So I've not seen this creature yet, but I've been doing sketches and drawings about this type of a thing. I drew a bit of Job's story. I drew David and Goliath when David was a boy. You know, that story from 1 Samuel 17 starts at about verse, I think it's 46 or 47. I love how David, in his youth, comes to his brothers who are against the Philistines in battle. And I love how he just is like, what's going on here? What's that guy doing? He's making fun of our creator, you know, blaspheme. Then he goes out there and basically just challenges this creature. And of course kills that Goliath, cuts off his head, stands there with his sword, and then of course the Philistines run because now their hero is gone. And I thought, wasn't David just a little bit scared? I stand outside. It's dark out. And I'm walking the perimeter of the property, and I'm singing praises to our Creator, and I'm praying, and I'm quoting scripture out loud. And I feel afraid. I'm not out there walking around feeling like the way David is described. And I'm 68 years old, you know? I feel that fear, but I do walk it, and I do stand outside, and I do speak to it. And I don't know if it's there, but I believe that it'll hear me because of that spiritual frequency. Yeah, 1 Samuel 17, thank you. So I've been there wrestling with this. I don't know how long it's going to go on, if it's going to come back. This is my third encounter as an adult. The first time was when I was doing the murals in Red Mesa, Arizona, that 4,000 square foot project. The very first night that I began painting, I encountered a principality of darkness. And then when I was coaching runners and we were beginning to become a really good team and we were beating the other schools, and we were a small school, people hired handshakers. Imagine this, on a beautiful Saturday morning, Navajos were jealous of the fact that our school was winning. So what they did was they hired handshakers to do things against the runners on the team that I was coaching. And so I did some instruction and teaching to parents and the runners, and we made it through. It happened 3 times on a beautiful Saturday morning, and it might have happened a 4th time, but we dealt with it. And that was in the late 80s. Now, I haven't had this type of skinwalker experience ever before in my life. My different relatives have had that. And handshakers are people who have, the way that they extend their evil work is they hold their hand out like this in the direction that they want to project their evil work, and they shake their hands back and forth. I'm not going to shake my hand toward you, but they'll do that they'll do this like this, and then they'll be chanting very quietly. And during that Saturday morning, they choose places on where it happened to our kids. They choose places off of the course with cross country, high school cross country. you can be way out in a remote area on the course, maybe at the 2 mile mark, 1 3/4 mile point, and you can pretty much not have a lot of people around there. And our runners felt things hit their chest, and they felt that thrust against them. And when you listen to their stories, so it's very real. It's limited in power. I believe that the all-knowing, everywhere present, all-powerful Creator contains it and gives it opportunity to do what it needs to do to a certain limit. And as we claim that the promises in Scripture, and as we speak out loud, you're going to continue to grow in strength. My son came out one night to spend the night with me in the bus. What a difference that makes to have one other person. And he's the one that told me that Jesus, in the ministry of the disciples, never sent the disciples out by themselves. And they were always sent 2 or 3 together. And we just read that passage earlier tonight. We're talking about 2 or 3 together, gathered in my name, there I will be. And so as soon as my son came, just knowing he was on his way up to the house, and we slept in the bus, just knowing he was coming gave me a greater level of confidence. And so during that night, nothing happened. And I believe that those creatures knew what was going on. This isn't nothing to play with. This isn't anything to take for granted. I think it's important to, as someone posted earlier, put on that full armor of God, because there's a story in Acts chapter 19, I believe, and it's a story about the 7 sons of Sceva, where they were the sons of the high priest Sceva, and so they went out, and I believe it was Ephesus, and there was some demonic possession, and there was they were casting out demons out of the people. And so what happened was they wanted to get in on the action, so they went out there together, and they came upon a demon possessed man, and the demon spoke to them and said, Jesus I know, and Paul I know, but who are you? Then they ran out of the house naked and bleeding. They ran out of the house naked and bleeding. That shows me that you just cannot assume that you're ready to encounter those principalities of darkness. That we need to keep ourselves grounded and prepared, and that when we do go through those types of things, however these principalities of darkness expose themselves to us, it's not always going to be through skinwalkers and so forth. It's going to take other formats, I believe, associated with where we live and the kind of activities that go on, what kind of evil experiences go on around where we live. We have to keep ready for that. So I'm working on building sketches and drawings. I'm also feeling led to go and visit all the churches, the gathering places along Highway 371. I live right off of 371. I live right off of, we're just 22 miles south of Farmington, and the home is about 22 miles. I mean, it's about 1 mile east of the highway. So it's out in the darkness. And then there's other people that live south a ways, and there's all these places of gathering for worship. And so I want to go visit those people and find out what's going on. All right. Any questions?
How's it going, Charlie?
Hey,
Yeah, that's an interesting topic. I actually come from a Pentecostal background and the whole deliverance ministry stuff. So I'm not a cessationist. I'm actually a continuationist. And we actually, believe in, the spirit realm and take it seriously. And I've actually been through spiritual attacks, at times. And what they do is these spirits prey off of your fear. The more fear that you give them, the stronger they get. And when I learned to take my authority in Christ and command these evil spirits to flee from me in Jesus' name, what I notice is that sometimes they show up as a person I knew in the past or someone that passed away. It presents itself like an ancestor in some sense. And then when you feel this evil vibe that is not something that's godly, and when you command it in the name of Jesus to leave, it shapeshifts into some kind of demon or something. And what you mentioned about these skinwalkers, I believe these are evil spirits that shapeshift, and there's a possibility that they can maybe even manifest maybe in the physical realm. As you said, there's been physical activity occurring as well. And I hear of stories of even from a friend of mine who's a real estate agent, and they have to report poltergeists, and this is a real phenomenon. And she's witnessed stuff like that where, and with other people in the room where things are flying objects and everything. So they have to report that before they even sell the house. So this paranormal activity it's real. And the problem with the Western society is they have a strict materialist, naturalistic mindset where they don't want to acknowledge spiritual phenomenon. But it's very interesting. I love what you're actually talking about there.
I lived in a house when I was in Montana. And I could hear babies crying at night. And I knew that I was awake. I knew I was alert, conscious. And I went to the rooms, and in every room there was a baby crying. And so I talked to the landlord, and she said that there were young couples that lived in that house who lost children, lost infants in the womb. So they miscarried. And I said, okay, that's what it is. So I just began, when I'd hear the babies, I would talk to them, tell them, hey, I know that you're crying because you are sad, no one's taking care of you. And I just talked to them as if they were alive. And I went back to my fatherhood skills when all the children were younger. And so that seemed to just put it at ease, and they stopped. This went on, like, when we lived there 2 years, and this started after about 6 months, and it ended a short time later after that when I started to talk to them. And I didn't give them names. I just referred to them as, in Navajo, the infant is, the boy infant is Shiyaja. Well, it could be the girl too, Shiyaja. So I referred to them in that way. It's so important to remember that through this, there's a reason why it's happening to me. There's something I'm supposed to learn, that I'm going to learn, and that it's limited in power against me or against the things that I've been given stewardship over. So the tools and the vehicles, the trailers, the house, the animals, the land itself. And I take that more seriously in giving thanks when I walk outside. I give thanks for whatever I'm looking at, pieces of grass, sand, and it's been so windy and sandy out here. We've had a lot of sand drifts, and I'm standing out working on the corral a couple weeks ago, and the wind is blowing and visibility is really low. And I'm talking and I'm praising our Creator for the sand and the wind, because it's, and I talk about what it's teaching me, what it's reminding me of, how it builds the vigorous, raises up the standards for my mind to get up tomorrow. And the challenge and what that challenge does, the Apostle Paul talks about counting it pure joy for being tested and tried. And I'm thinking, now, how can you count something pure joy? That happens with spiritually mature people. I don't know of any spiritually mature people who have not been through trials and difficulties, and that's what's happening to me now. I'm standing or sitting before you tonight. I presented with Good Medicine Way. What was it, Leah, about 3 or 4 years ago? So
Yeah.
now I'm at a different level than I was at that time. I remember going to Albuquerque and having some time with all your people there that were together. Well, they're all our people together. So, yeah. And people are going to turn away from us. Your friends, Job's 3 friends and Job's wife, they all turned away. But Job was blessed with twice as much as he had before. And so there's this, I look forward to whatever blessing is coming. I might not even recognize what it is at the time. It might have to be around for a little bit. But I know that I'm not doing this to get a blessing. I'm doing this because I know it's the right thing to do. And I've chosen to encounter this knowing that only God, Creator God, will protect me to the level, because in that story of Job, it's so important to remember that Satan came to God, and asked permission to touch Job's life. And God said the first time, yes, you can go do that. You can go test and try him, but you cannot touch his body, cannot take his life. And the second time, Satan comes back in that story and then says, I bet you if you take away his life or his health, he'll curse you. And God, Creator God says, okay, you can do that to his body, but you cannot take his life. And sure enough, Job gets all these boils, his sores on his body. And I did it. I wish I could show you the original. I don't have it here with me. But I drew this picture of Job on the pile of ashes with ashes on his head. I kind of redid it kind of quickly for you. And you can see Job's three friends walking away. His wife is on the other side. And there's Job sitting there on the pile of ashes. One of the ashes, he's putting ashes on his head with one arm, and the other arm he's lifting up to Creator, saying, I came into this world with nothing. I'm going to leave with nothing. The Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. You know, I love all three of my horses, and the one that was injured, I thought, you know, they chose the most sensitive one. So that's interesting that they chose the most sensitive horse and did that. They did some terrible things to that horse. Still living, and it's healing. It's healed enough that we rode, my son and I rode, what's today? Today's Monday. We rode on Saturday. So you can ride him again, and he's healed that much. Want to see some more drawings?
Sure, yeah. One thing, it was interesting that you mentioned Job. One thing I've always found interesting about that story that I think sometimes gets overlooked is that we as the readers, we get to see like the full picture of all this dialogue between the devil and God and everything that's going on. But Job's never told any of that. And that's why I thought it was interesting how you said, like, you do right because it's the right thing to do. And that's really where Job was at. He didn't have like all this background information about what was happening and everything. He was just like, I serve God, and I'm going to serve God because that's the right thing to do. So yeah, I found that interesting. But yeah, let's see more drawings for sure.
This drawing has nothing to do with the topic, really. Well, you can figure out a connection. It's called Taking the Journey. I love riding horses. I've been on some trail rides, but they all have a purpose. There's a spiritual purpose behind the ride, and quite often there's prayer associated with it. So you see these Navajo riders, and they're over top of Shiprock, which is it's a volcanic core. It's about 1,100 feet tall, and then above the riders there's this corn growing, and then there's these seedlings you see in the air. So I'm going to show it to you sideways because it has the same circle and the same space in the middle coming down. I'm going to show it to you this way. See the circle, and the riders are in that area that is the light. Now I'm going to turn it this way, and I can't wait to get this one started. I can see this as like on a 4x4 canvas, 4 foot by 4 foot. I love that start to my drawings, the circle, and then I go down on both sides and get that light coming in from the east. This is just about how the horse and the cowboy work together. It's connected to cutting horses. It's called Teamwork, and it's the cowboy working with the horse. It's a marker drawing. I often draw with marker, and then getting the calf to move to a certain position. And in that, the calf is like, and the cow, I mean, the horse and the rider are just very calm. They're not freaked out. They're just they know what to do together. And it's a wonderful feeling to be on horseback with a horse that is in unison with you. It takes a lot of time to build that relationship, but when it's going on, then I just smile. I just say thank you. I'm so thankful for relationships. Been trying to keep this fan away from the back of my head, but I'm just going to forget it and just embrace it. There you go.
Charlie,
Yes.
I have 2 questions that I can think of. One maybe not so related. Now I can't remember it, but the first one is, what about your aunt? Is she aware of any of this? Is she dealing with it? If so, how? And how are you with not being there with her? Do they not bother her at all, or just kind of talk about that?
Okay. She's 85.
Mhm.
She's been living out there for 21 years by herself.
Mhm.
She said to me, they've never bothered me. And the last time that there was any vandalism done, it was done to her vehicle. It was a punctured flat tire, and what's called the steering dapper was loosened from her front wheel, and it was hanging down in the morning. That's the only thing that they've done to anything of hers. So
Well, it does seem like all of this is geared towards you, so
yeah,
that would
that's-
make sense.
that's what she said to me. We were talking about it today, and she said they have targeted you. They're after you. 6 years ago, I went to Texas to visit. This was during the summer. I went to Texas to visit my daughter who lives there. And I was gone for a long weekend. So I left on Thursday. On my return, I got a phone call from my aunt. And she said, someone shot one of your horses and they stole the other horse. So I went direct. I just kept on going. I didn't stop and spend the night anywhere. I just kept on driving till I got to the ranch. And when I saw the dead horse laying there and the other horse missing, and where I went and investigated the fence line, I decided that, okay, so why did they do this to these horses? And there were all kinds of different stories, but that happened. And there's a connection from that experience 6 years ago to now my presence out there all year long, coming up close to a year now. They're bothered by my presence. They don't want me out there.
My
But
second
yeah,
question.
yes.
This is going to sound weird, but Do you all deal with horseflies out there? With horses and cows? Do you have horseflies?
Not where we're at. No, it's too dry.
Oh,
Now, when I was teaching near Gallup, there's a little bit more vegetation, a little bit more moisture. There were some horseflies. When I lived in Tucson, there's even more vegetation and more. Tucson gets more rain per year on the average than what we do, and there were more horseflies there, and then there were tons of horseflies in Montana. So I think it's too dry by us, but that's a good question.
well, I had to ask because I live in a neighborhood in a subdivision. And for the last 5-7 years, I've had to deal with them for 2 to 4 weeks out of every summer. The closest I know of that there's anything, there's some cows maybe a mile away from me. Like I
Okay.
said, it's a subdivision surrounded by subdivisions. They don't belong here. And I only have one other neighbor who says they deal with them too. And we're talking the females who attack you. They want my blood. And I guess I'm actually still hoping I can find somebody who's found a way to get rid of them.
Well, what my uncle Jasper would say is, this is what he says about houseflies. He says, what are you going to do? Just live with them. Don't keep swishing them away. They'll move. If they come in the house, they have a right to be there.
Something
Let them-
just came to me as you were answering, though. Maybe they are my visitation. I don't like the sound of that, but
we're always learning, and if things irritate us, we're always going to learn about things. It's been a long time. If I break down en route to, and it's happened, I was going to visit my daughter. I was in Tucson, and the drive shaft on my pickup, the U-joint wore out, and it just broke. And I was in the middle of a place where there wasn't any cell phone
reception.
Thank you. And there was a place where I was down in a canyon, and I started laughing, and I said, what are you up to, Creator? Who do you want me to meet? What's the purpose of this? So a few minutes later, this hunter drives by, and he's one of the uncles of one of my students in Tucson. And he takes me all the way to Show Low, Arizona, 40 some miles away, where I was headed to meet my daughter for lunch. We had scheduled to meet at 12 noon. I got there at 12:01.
Wow.
We ate lunch, and then I played with my grandkids, and I told my daughter what happened. And she said, do you want me to take you back to your vehicle? And I said, no, it's okay. Because she had about a 2 3/4 of an hour drive back to her home. So I said, no, I'll be okay. So I went, she dropped me off at the way on the west side of town, the last gas station. And there was an elderly Apache couple that picked me up. And as we got going, they had a Bible on the dashboard, and I had a chance to visit with them. They took me all the way to the vehicle. You know what? And they turned around, dropped me off. They turned around, went back to their home. They had gone past their turnoff. So I'm underneath the pickup, putting it together. It's late in the day, and I need another part that I didn't know that I needed. I needed what's called a carrier bearing, and there was none. And I thought, I still can't go anywhere. So I'm underneath the pickup. My legs are sticking out. This pickup comes by, a man and his wife. They pull over, ask me if I need any help. I said, well, I need a carrier bearing and I don't have one. And they said, do you need a tow? I said, sure, I'll take a tow. You can tow me. Pulled out his tow strap and hooks me up. Which way you going? I said, back toward Globe, a good 40 miles south. He takes me all the way over there. On the way, I call my friend Eric in Tucson. Eric comes up and tows me the rest of the way because the man that towed me to Globe gave me the tow strap. He said, you might need this. So I was taken care of. And I met some people that I didn't know that I was going to meet. So next time those horse flies come around, talk to them and put out a little bowl of blood for them.
I'll talk to Creator.
Creator's going to say, well, why do you think I'm sending them to you?
Mhm.
Hey, Elmer, this is Darlene Silversmith.
Oh, hello, Yate.
At Ishanai.
Mhm.
I've known you since Cottonwood Pass, probably the late 70s. You were going to college at Calvin at the time. And I sang with Mary Heiser, Geneva Curley,
Yes.
Dash. We sang at Cottonwood while I played the guitar. And you were there, I think, with the swim or something like that. I don't know. But you were there. I remember meeting you then. Probably was 78 or something like that. But yeah, and then later on, I met your sister in Denver.
Gertie.
And then on, I met your youngest brother, Kenny, in Boulder. So I it's God's leading that, get to meet some of your family,
Yeah.
lifetime.
Yeah.
But your family is I like what you said at your mother's funeral, how your family struggled, even your brothers and sisters struggled, but your father was like a key missionary with the CRC in Red Mesa. And you too, are so recognized here on the reservation. I can understand why this entity, spiritual evil entity, is a you. For myself, I've never seen anything like that. There's been a couple times I've seen our motion light go on, and we're in rural outside of Cromwell.
Yeah.
And I always think, why did that happen? But I have yet to see anything demonic. Everyone else is saying, I've had seen exorcisms, and I have never seen. Maybe once in Denver, I remember seeing some crazy guy coming towards me. I was walking down the block, and I don't know if he was high or anything, but I was praying, and when he came close to me, his eyes went like bug eyes. He looked at me and his eyes went bug eyes, like he was seeing something he had never seen before. And he was kind of afraid of it. And he kind of went sideways around me, like here I was praying for my safety. And I think he was praying for his safety, looking at me. But anyway, I don't want to ever see a skinwalker, but I've heard many, many stories about them. And I'm just a few miles from 371 too. So I didn't know it was Skinwalker Highway, or what is it?
Skinwalker Alley.
Alley, yeah. I lived in Omaha, is Tornado Alley, but and you should be, even though there was lightning and it was darkness, and people said are tornadoes gonna, I just went to sleep, in Omaha. I always say, if it's my time, then Lord take me, and even with my cancer, I said, if it's my time, Lord take me, but otherwise use it for your honor and glory. And I
Mhm.
think that's what you can do. And that's what you're doing now. You're such a testimony to Red Mesa, I think. You remind me of Paul Redhouse.
Well, I'm thankful, and I just praise our Creator God for his work through us, and what we are called to do. By the way, do you see the screen? Do you see the background, everybody, behind Darlene? Do you see the Native American profile? The eyes, the nose, the bridge of the nose is highlighted. Don't move, Darlene. The light behind you is on the screen that we see is casting a profile of a native man with long hair hanging down. Do you guys see that? You haven't had enough coffee today.
That's
No,
an
I
artist.
see it. Take a screenshot of that. I like that. I might be coming down your way. You might run into me.
Are you by Navajo Nation 5?
Yeah, right there
Oh.
by Highway 5 and 371. There's a green gate to the east side, and you go in there 1 mile. That's where I'm at.
Okay. I probably seen you at the gate. My mother was up there for Alzheimer's in Farmington, to drive
Okay.
back that road a lot.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. Yeah. Thank you.
I think Lisa has a question or something to say.
Hi, Charlie.
Hello.
Hey, you know what? I've taught over in Grand Rapids too.
I saw your note. Was that you that posted a little earlier? Very
Yes.
good.
Yes, I just wanted to tell you I so enjoyed everything you said, because my brother and I have been going through the same thing, and my brother's an artist too.
Mm,
And I always felt that God was, or the creator would reach out to people through visual, because people are too busy. They don't listen. But they'll look at a picture, and the work that you're doing, and I see my brother doing, I'm going, they're under attack. The enemy doesn't want you to sleep. He doesn't want you to bring forth this that's in your mind. And I thought that was so beautiful. It looked like a map to me, what you presented. That was the first word. I said, this is a map. This is a map of direction from the creator for people.
mm-hmm.
And I'd love to get a copy of it when you're ready to do it. I know you got probably a million things you're doing, but it just really spoke to me. And I realized that you took us to a whole nother level where you're not just believing in the Lord, but now we're fighters. We're warriors. We have to fight those demonic spirits, because we won't get anything done if we don't know how to fight. And I like what you said. I'm going to start speaking to the bugs and the bees. The doves are pretty cool, so I can leave them alone. But, and then I have, you probably see it behind me, I have the tambourines from Israel, but they were made by First Nation people in Israel.
Wow.
So that's like my praise instrument. And sometimes I go around the house and I say, No, you don't. No evil spirit here. We're gonna do praise and
Yeah.
worship.
Yes.
And it really works, but so much of what you said was just such a blessing. I'm so glad that I had a chance to meet you. So thank you.
Yes. And for all of us, if you want to see some of the work that I do, um, I post on Facebook under my name, Elmer Yazzie. So if you look up the post that I put up, I just put it out there. And then sometimes people ask to buy something. Sometimes people comment and so forth. But you're welcome to look at those. And I put them out there because I want to share them. And people, as long as people don't start selling them, I don't mind them taking them from Facebook and using them for themselves. I love working with predominantly with watercolor, but I do pottery and I do oil work and pastel and ink and acrylic and gouache. I do a lot of different types of media, but my favorite one that I go back to is watercolor. I really enjoy that, the feel of watercolor. And for a lot of you that don't know me, I make my own brushes from the yucca plant. This is the brush I use on a painting that I just sent to Grand Rapids, Michigan. I forgot to put this in the package when I sent it. So I'm going to have to send it separate.
Beautiful.
And I have an art show this Memorial Day weekend in Crete, Colorado. I don't do public art shows very often anymore. I used to do them about 5 or 6 times a year. Now I don't. I just there's too much pressure. I like being able to paint in solitude, and I like dancing when I'm painting. I like singing. I love praying when I'm painting, and I like to do that in my own privacy. Enjoy doing that and just having a good time.
So that was Elmer, and I'm sorry, I did get the last name.
The last name is Yazzie, Yazzie.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah, Elmer Yazzie. If you look that up on Facebook, you'll see a lot of the work that I've done.
Good, and I'll dance with the tambourine.
That's right. That's right. And I'll dance with the brush.
Hey, Elmer, Donna Anderson, who's watching the live stream on YouTube, and she mentioned when we made the announcement that she was really excited about you speaking. But she had a question, and I'm just going to read it verbatim. She says, Brother Yazzie, would you agree that we are in a truly supernatural window of time in transition as the wheel goes round? This wisdom you share is vital. So.
I agree that I believe that the days that we're living are no different than days in any other time in history. I believe that as we study and look at history of this world in this universe, that it's always been the desire of our Creator God for us to live to the fullest of our spiritual life, to reach down inside, to be and bring out the best of us. It does help a lot to have something like a skinwalker, because it raises the spiritual hair on the back of your neck, and it causes me so often now to speak at night outside out loud, not just in the privacy of the home reading the Bible, having a quiet time, but to proclaim out loud. I mean, scripture says that if we don't praise God, creator God, if we don't praise this creator will call on the rocks to praise him. You see, we're too quiet. We're too conservative, maybe. We're just a little off. We're not. We shouldn't worry about what our voice sounds like. There are musicians who have beautiful voices. They have a talent, a gift. But that's not going to stop me from singing my praise, my song, even though my voice is not that. My art sings for me. My voice sings for me. My feet, my legs, my whole body is in rhythm with a dance. Now that I say that in response to the question, all of us throughout history have been called to live to the fullest. Some of us, some people who have lived have not reached their fullest, but we have that opportunity. We have a choice to reach that fullest. We have to seek it. We have to have a desire to want it. Years ago, I drew a naked man who'd walked out on a snowy morning onto a tree branch, a tree trunk that had fallen and was extended out over the cliff. And he had walked out there, and on the very end, he has his arms raised up. And there's one green leaf in the midst of this winter scene over the canyon that's attached to that tree. And there's a light coming down. That's all about seeking, searching, a desire to grow and learn more. It doesn't matter if we've encountered spiritual beings like I have. What matters is for all of us to just thrust into the spiritual realm that our Creator has set for us. Every one of us has a unique path. We're all part of one body. And the ear, the nose, the mouth, the feet, the toes, the thumb, fingers, every one of us has a place, elbow, knee. We all have a purpose. And then you think of all the parts of the body and how they function as one. And so we know that we've heard that passage many times where we're all together in this. And that's what really ties the knot nice and tight for spiritual frequency. Because we're not tied to, we think physical because of the word body being many parts, one body, many parts. But that's about spiritual frequency. We're connected to the whole globe. There's believers. I've met them in Israel. I've met them in Germany. I've met them in different places around the country, around the world, that speak a different language, that live within a different culture, but they are a part of that body. And I get chills. I got chills right now thinking about one body, many parts, one spiritual body, many parts. I'm going to turn on the light.
Email, that's all right. Okay. Am I on?
Yes.
Okay. Here is an email from John and Heather Witherow, who are on the staff. Elmer, it says, would you be so kind as to pass greetings on to Elmer Yazzie from Sam Gesh? Sam is a friend of ours, and his family were missionaries in Peru before coming back to the States. Sam's dad taught with Elmer at Rehoboth when they first got back.
That's right. Thank you. Yeah,
Hey, Casey, are you in Hawaii? Is hanging loose in Hawaii?
He's doing that.
Are you surfing? Did you just get back from surfing?
All right, you're muted though, Casey.
You're muted.
We just did kayaking and snorkeling.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, you had a really good time. It's almost over. So yeah, I just opened my phone. You guys are on, so I'm going to join you for a little bit.
very good.
Elmer, welcome to the group here.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll listen in for a while. I'll leave you guys be there. Good to meet you, and you guys are doing a great job. Thank you for covering for me while I just need some time away. We're having a good time.
Travel safe.
Okay.
Well, shall we head on to the song, the closing song?
Yeah, we can do that. All right, so this is our normal closing round dance. So hopefully you guys are getting to know the song pretty well, and feel free to do your round dance steps wherever you're at, and we'll get things set up here.
Something's weird. Jesus, Gararonqua. Jesus, Gararonqua.
Just a minute.
You're unmuted now, Katie. Casey.
Thank you
I'll just show
all.
you guys a picture of the ocean.
Well, thank you, Elmer. Thank you for coming and speaking
You're very
tonight.
welcome.
Thank you, everyone else, for having and, and letting us
Thank
be a
you
part
so
of your
much.
Monday night.
Thank you.
Again, Wednesday nights was for the women. Let me pray you all out as we and pray you for the week.
Do you have a last question, Diane, before we close? Oh, you're muted still.
I put it in the chat
Okay,
for Elmer to see it. It wasn't a question.
all right.
So read the chat, Elmer.
How do
Please.
I see the chat?
Yeah, I'm not sure, I don't have my phone connected, so I'm not sure how you look at the
She wants
chat.
to hear.
Can I say it real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm just saying, I hope you come back and see us again, especially when you're ready to tell us why the skinwalkers, why God is allowing the skinwalkers to pester you beyond, because you mentioned that you weren't going to go too far in what you were saying, like the whys and the wherefores and whatever. And you got me curious. So
I know the answer to that, but I don't,
I know that you don't want to say it right now.
right.
Yeah, so stay tuned for season 2.
Thank you, and it's great. Heavenly Father, the Creator. Yep. Yes, Casey.
Yeah, before we close there, I'll share something here that we all noticed here when we went snorkeling. We went to a little cove, and there's a big monument there that says, in this year, certain year, Captain Cook discovered Hawaii. And we all said, oh, really? There were nobody here when you arrived, right? So we just had to chuckle at that. So just like America, United States area, Turtle Island, it's like Columbus discovered them, even though there were people there. Okay, thank you. I'll let you all close now.
Thank you, Casey. Yeah, it's pretty ironic. Being able to hear and see those ironic and understand that even America itself is from some type of explorer. So that's why some Native American people don't want to be called Native Americans, just Native. They don't want to be called by another white person. And so, again, let's go. Creator, you know us before our parents have seen or witnessed us our first walks. You know you knitted us in our mother's womb, and you allowed us to feel your heart, you feel your light, not from just the first day of conceived, but continually to this day. Continually, you allow us to understand how you work through our lives, and you keep us safe from all things of bad. You allow us to keep us safe from evil. And we're very grateful, and we are very grateful for your grace. Thank you for allowing us to have, knowing us by our names, and the names that you wanted us to have. Not no random names of another explorer or some random names of someone else. The names that you, our Father, call us. In your good name we pray. As you want to sleep, as you want to sleep, as you want to sleep. Amen. Amen. creation's good name, and Creator says free. Said, Amen.
Amen.
Oh, and a hoe.
All right. Thank you all for coming. We'll say goodbye to the live stream, and we'll be hanging out on Zoom a little bit off the recorded record. But yeah, so this will end the live stream, and we'll see you all next week, we hope.